it doesn't always work. But my approach to comedy and horror is just treating both the genres with equal kind of seriousness and weight. And I love both genres equally. And I can watch a horror movie that's scary as fuck and has no laughs. But and same wise, I just love watching comedy as well. So I just kind of treat them both kind of straight.
Thank you so much for your time. I loved M3GAN. It is, first of all, it's so much fun. It's terrifying and it's hilarious all at the same time. Fantastic job. First question I have for you, though, is can you tell me and talk to me about the difference between the PG-13 version and the unrated version?
The thing I miss the most is just like Ronnie Cheng Unchained, like the CEO of this toy company swearing his mouth off, like, every third word. So that's the biggest difference. It's like you really get to see Ronnie's true performance in the movie. And then on the horror side of things, it's like, yeah, if you felt like we were holding back on some things, we don't hold back in this version. And, we totally go there. And it's up to you to decide which is the better way to go. Even I'm kind
unrated. Unrated. Ronnie is brilliant. He's one of my favorite comedians. His timing is great. His chemistry with Allison is great. I love it.
Cool.
Now the build to horror is so well done. Can you talk about building the tension and balancing the different types of horror in M3GAN?
The funny thing is that's part of the PG-13 equation, because I had failed because of the tight shooting schedule. It was, because the thing about this movie is it's a typical kind of Blumhouse film model where it's kind of 30 days. Yeah, maybe we got a couple of extra days, but really it's 30 days and you're dealing with an animatronic puppet and kids and animals. Kids hours, you get 2 hours less in your shooting day. And those last 2 hours is where everything happens because you're just cramming to get it all done. And so it was brutal, and I was really disappointed by some of those sequences. So when we had to go PG-13, we had to reshoot this scene where this guy gets splattered with blood, where Stefan's character gets splattered with blood. And so I was like, well, if we reshoot that, can I reshoot a couple of other things? And can I reshoot Celia coming to the shed, and can she come through like a rusty iron gate, and can there be leaves blowing? And so it's like we got to do all this stuff that kind of made those other sequences just a little bit more tense. So I was really happy about that.
Look, audiences love M3GAN. I think it has a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. Why do you think audiences connected so effectively to M3GAN?
I think a large part of it has to do with her. Just like she's so uncanny, but in a way that's not, I mean, the whole definition of uncanny valley is it's kind of repulsive, but she's kind of the opposite. She's like intriguing and enchanting. And I think, people just love her, and she's so fun. And, that was really my job, was to, when I got this movie, is just like to make her as fun as I could. And I had so much fun, writing dialogue for her, and, like just thinking of all the different things that she could do. And it's just so gratifying to see that the audiences felt the same way. It's not a perfect movie by any means. I'm sure a lot of screenwriting professors could rip it to pieces and talk about all the things that we didn't do. But I just think it's a really charming, bonkers movie that is anchored by this just incredible performance that's somehow manufactured by about 10 different people, from myself to Moreau, who made her and did all the animatronics, to the puppeteer, turning her head at just the right moments,
right,
to Amy, who inhabited her when she's walking and doing all that physical stuff, to Jenna Davis, who just brings that voice to life in the most extraordinary way possible.
One thing I love about home entertainment releases is that it's almost like you can go to film school with some of these special features. Can you talk to me about some of the special features on the home release?
Yeah, I mean, you get some. There's a 3 featurettes, and they just give you a really good insight into the filmmaking process, and they make it look like I really knew what I was doing.
You did, man.
And that's the most impressive part to me. It's like, wow, that guy really knows. Like he looks like he knows what he's doing, because it didn't feel that way some of the time. But yeah, it's just a good, there was before we made the movie, I was I was almost threatened, like, don't talk about how we made the doll, and don't talk about Amy, and don't talk about all this amazing stuff. And so you just get to see all that, and how we did it, and and some of the challenges we went through, and yeah.
For a horror movie, I don't think there's one that I had more fun watching. So M3GAN really taps into the comedy. How do you approach the more comedic versus more horrific scenes when filming?
I think they're part of the same equation in some way. It's time. Horror is all timing. It's like, when you construct a scare, it's like you've got to, and I say this, my wife hates horror movies. And so the trick I say to her is just put your fingers in your ears. Because the way you time a scare is like, you show 2 frames of the scare and then you come at them with the whole fucking orchestra, and the stab. And so that's the same way you approach a joke. It's like when I'm writing, M3GAN's dialogue or Allison's dialogue, it's just like trying to figure out that timing. And speaking of Allison, she's great as well. Like, she just kind of knows how to play things. She's got such a wonderful dry sense of humor that just lends itself to that part. So it was just like, it doesn't always work, but my approach to comedy and horror is just treating both the genres with equal kind of seriousness and weight, and I love both genres equally, and I can watch a horror movie that's scary as fuck and has no laughs, but in same ways, I just love watching comedy as well. So I just kind of treat them both kind of straight, and I think the music really helps as well. Yeah. Like, Anthony's job, because Anthony was worried. It's like, do I have to score the jokes? And it's like, no. You're the glue that holds the tone together. So you just play it straight the whole time, and somehow that kind of all makes it work, I think.
I mean, this is the perfect blend of like comedy and horror. Like, it had a perfect balance of both, which I absolutely love. Now, I mean, it's easy to draw comparisons to Chucky and the Terminator, at least drawing inspirations from the two. And this is a little bit of a fun question, but who do you think would win in a fight, M3GAN, Chucky, or the Terminator?
More M3GAN. I don't know why. I just know she'd find a way, because she's the most recent version, so she'd have all the most upgrades, and she's just really smart. But I would just love to see, like, I think M3GAN's an icon, and I just think I would love to see her pop up. People have said, do you want to see her in the next Chucky, or is Chucky going to come into M3GAN? I'm just like, put M3GAN in any movie, and see what happens. She's a ton of fun.
And it's such a charismatic character. Like, that's the thing. It's the character of M3GAN is so charismatic. Now, you set up a great little tease at the end for a sequel. Can you talk a little bit about what you'd like to explore next with Gemma and M3GAN and those characters?
I think, when you make a movie, it doesn't matter if it's a sequel, whatever. It's like, does this have a reason for being? Does this have something to say? And you can't just do it just to make more money, right? As much as that's always the jumping off point, it's like there has to be a reason for it. And so, certainly my conversations with the producers is largely stems from, what is this about? And if the first movie was about parenting in the 21st century, how do we evolve that conversation? And there is just so much, the great thing about making a film with AI themes is that they keep growing and evolving, and they keep impacting society in unexpected and absurd ways. So, that's really how I think we stay fresh and relevant. But at the same time, understanding what really worked about the first movie, and is that ultimately it was really fun. Just a fun, entertaining, absurd ride.
Switching gears for a second, I'm a huge DC fan, and I'm really excited for the DCU. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you were writing Justice League Dark. Now that James Gunn has taken over, is that project still on the table? And what does Justice League Dark look like? Because look, I'm a huge fan of Justice League Dark. Swamp Thing, Phantom Stranger, Detective Chimp. You put them all in there. Ragman, which I actually felt like Ragman would have fit great into this film too.
Right.
There's some fantastic characters. So can you talk to me a little bit about where the status is of Justice League Dark and how it fits into the DCU?
The status is mainly that IMDb just hasn't updated that page yet. So like I was on Justice League Dark. I'm a big fan of James, and it was funny while I was working on Justice League Dark, I was watching Guardians of the Galaxy a lot because tonally it was really similar to what I wanted to do, but also it was a movie that introduced a bunch of new characters in a movie that's worked, and I was really studying Guardians a lot while I was writing that to figure out, okay, what are the ways you do this right? Because look, the first Suicide Squad didn't work. It's hard when you just the Marvel films had the luxury of having standalone movies, so you couldn't wait for all these characters to get together. So Guardians is just an awesome example of how you do it properly. But what happened with that one was I was on it. The Jeff Johns, who was at DC, and John Berg, they were big fans of Housebound, my first movie, and that just got me the job. It was the easiest pitch ever. He was just like, I've watched Housebound 4 times, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to sit here and say nothing, and that got me the job. And but I, admittedly, I wasn't a huge comic book guy. My favorite DC character was Wonder Woman, to be perfectly honest. And so I had to give myself an education on those comics. And so I did a massive deep dive on, all the DC comics, and, Constantine, just all Hellblazer, and it's so funny because it's like they just wanted a script really quickly, but I was like, I'm just having too much fun reading these comics, like Jesus Christ, So I was like getting into the Brujeria, like the weird little Patagonian cult, and I was like, I want to do something with the Brujeria. These guys are really strange and weird, and they live in a cave in Patagonia. How cool is that? And so I had taken on a script that was really fun, but I think no writer had really been able to invest the necessary time on it to just make it work, make it like one of those bulletproof. Marvel at the time were just killing it. All their movies they were like Pixar films in terms of how good the story was and just how perfect the script was. And so I just really wanted to get the script perfect. And so about halfway through the process, Justice League came out, and it was just like a tough time for DC. I think it was just like Justice League came out, didn't do what they wanted it to do. Suicide Squad didn't do what they wanted it to do. And so I was told that they don't want to spend money on another new movie with a bunch of characters no one's heard of, and I understand it. So it was a shame, but I really was just like halfway through the script writing process with that one. But I had it was a fun pitch. Like I had so Deadman was in there, Swamp Thing, Constantine, Zatanna. I felt like Zatanna was actually the main character, and there was a lot of the conversations and jostling I had with the guys there, because they were like, Constantine's the main character. And I was like, no, Constantine's kind of like the coolest character, but Zatanna's really the main character because she's discovering her magical powers and for the first time. But it was fun, man. The characters all went to hell to get Zatanna's dad.
I got to read this script, Gerard.
Yeah, it was like, I got to dig it up, but it was fun. I had a blast writing it, but no, it's an unfinished work for sure.
Well, look,
I would love to meet James Gunn. I would love to sit down with James Gunn and talk about it for sure.
From our mouths to James Gunn's ears. Hopefully I'm putting that out in the atmosphere. Look, man, thank you so much for your time. I love M3GAN. I can't recommend it enough to anybody else that loves the genre of comedy or horror. It's the perfect blend. Thank you for your time, man. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Great to meet you.
You too. Take care. Hopefully we'll chat soon.